I made Hole.io but in 3D. Hole.io is a game where you're a hole moving around the ground in a city trying to make things fall into you. The problem with this game is that you're a flat hole on the ground. That's why I decided to see what would it be like to make Hole.io in 3D where you play as a black hole flying around trying to eat the whole city. Now I know Hole.io is technically already a 3D game, but in my game you'll be able to fly in any direction in 3D space. Now, the first thing we needed was a black hole. I opened up Unity and I started by creating a sphere for the player, then I copied some of my old movement code and I put it onto the sphere. Now that it's moving around, it looks a little boring just being a plain black circle. I knew I wanted the black hole to look good since it's the main focus of the game, so I decided to learn shader graphs. I'd never worked with shader graphs before, but after watching some tutorials I got a basic understanding and I was able to create this. It's nothing fancy, but it gives you the ability to have two separate colors, one for the inside and outside, and then you can change the brightness and the blend of the two colors. Then I gave that shader to the black hole and it immediately started looking so much better. Then I decided to create this particle system of circles coming off it. I originally wanted to do an orbit type of effect, but after struggling for a bit I was able to create this and I really like how it looks. After that, I started working on the actual Hole.io mechanics. I started by creating these blocks to be able to test, and I made it so everything keeps track of its own size. Then I made it so whenever you run into an object smaller than yourself, it'll lose gravity and its collider starts flying towards you. Then it also starts shrinking, and when it gets so small it disappears. After that, I set up some more just to test it out and made them start spinning when they get eaten. This is such a satisfying mechanic, and it works exactly how I imagined a black hole would work. Next, I made it so something actually happens when you eat one of them, and I made it so your size goes up by 1 unit. Now this way you can start by eating the smaller things, and then when you eat more, you'll get bigger and eventually be able to eat the bigger blocks, which is exactly how it works in the real Hole.io. Now we have pretty much everything for the player, so next we need to start working on the math. I debated this for a while because I do know a little bit of basic 3D modeling, but I eventually ended up just getting a free city pack on the Unity Asset Store. This pack has everything I need, so I decided to get it and start working on the city. I started by setting up the roads and the layout for it, and then I got to work placing the actual buildings and the things you were going to eat. I put down the buildings on the outsides of the streets, and then I populated the city with things like street signs, traffic cones, mailboxes, and trash cans. These are going to be the things that you eat when you start small, but then as you eat more, you'll eventually be able to eat the buildings and finally win the game. Now, at this point, it was all feeling really good, but if the city felt a little static. So to fix that, I decided to make cars driving in the city. I found this free car model on Polypizza, and then I imported it into Unity and I set up 2 different colors for it. Then I made it so it'll drive straight on the road for as long as it can, and then when it hits the border, it'll respawn back at the start. This system for the cars actually works really well because the cars are like a medium-sized object and act as a transition between the little things and the big buildings. By the way, I'm a small channel with only 2,700 subscribers, and if you like this video, please consider subscribing. Anyways, that was everything for the city, but now it felt like something was missing, and that something was the enemies. See, in the normal Hole.io, there are these other holes moving around the map trying to eat everything as well. The way it works is if you're bigger than the other holes, you can even eat them to get bigger. So that's what I wanted to recreate in 3D. I started by creating 3 other black holes, but I decided to give them all different colors, which was really easy to do with the shader I made. Anyways, with the AI, it'll work at the start of the game and get a list of all the objects in the map. Then it'll scan through them and find the objects smaller than itself. Then once it finds a target, it'll start moving towards it. The only issue was that these enemies don't have sight, so they would get stuck on a lot of walls. The way I decided to fix this was I would check if they were standing still, and then I would add a random force to it to get it moving again, and then it would also look for a new target. This system works really well because now it's able to move around the whole city and eat everything. It still does get stuck sometimes, but now it's able to work around it. Finally, we need an actual goal for this game, so I created a timer that goes in the top corner of the screen, and then I also created this menu that shows up when the game ends. It just shows a picture of the winner, and I feel like this way is more fun than just saying if you won or lost. Now, with all that done, let's try the game out. Alright, here we go. Going into the city here. Starting by eating these little things. Looks like the blue guy's coming stealing all those from me. Starting off with these traffic cones and benches here. Not quite big enough to eat the car. You watch out for that blue guy. I'll let him go and get whatever he wants. Already down to 40 seconds left. There we go, now we're getting the cars. I'm gonna go see if I can try and eat the orange or yellow or green guy over here. Not sure where all the objects are. Looks like they're all getting eaten by the other guys. Uh-oh, green just died, it looks like. So he respawned over here. I'm gonna try and trap him. Come on, there we go. There we go. Got 2 points off of him. Eating the yellow guy too. Not sure if we're gonna win this though. Looks like blue is pretty big. Maybe we can eat some of these buildings. Oh, blue beat me to it. Looks like we're going for the yellow guy now. Can't squeeze in there. Only 5 seconds left. I think blue's gonna win this. Unfortunately, can't get to the water tower. Yeah, blue wins. So that's how I made Hole.io in 3D. This was a really fun project and I love how everything looks and feels. And I feel like it's true to the original game. I left a link in the description, so go see if you can beat it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please subscribe and go check out another video.